On this week's episode, we sit down with Sean Fitzpatrick. Originally from Surrey, Prince Edward Island, Sean worked as a fisherman from a young age with his family, but in high school began coming up with an idea to create a brand and company for himself. He decided to attend university for business, and during those years he honed in on what he wanted the brand to represent and how it would manifest itself. From there, the brand 60 was born, and Sean's first venture would be in watches. Now, in his final year of university, and after a recent collaboration with East Coast Lifestyle, Sean is excited for the future and where he can take 60 next. Listen in as we go through it all.
I was the same old me, with the same old blues. I was the same old me, with the same old blues. I was the same old me, with the same old blues.
All right, we're back for another episode of Brand New View, joined by my co-host, Ben Brammer. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. Wish it wasn't so windy, but happy to be indoors.
What can you do? We're joined by Sean Fitzpatrick tonight. How you doing there, Sean?
Hello, fellas. Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, we're happy to have you. We got another Islander on the
Fellow
podcast,
Islander,
Ben.
we're thick. It's good.
We're thick.
Tick, Beth.
Unbelievable. You're from Surrey, so not exactly Charlottetown like Ben.
We fight on the island, but as soon as you take us off, we're
Best
all
friends now.
best friends.
Yeah, that's how it goes. I understand.
Pretty much.
What was it like growing up on, Surrey? Jeez, here we go. Another island story.
I'll let him get through it before I make any comments.
Growing up in Surrey, geez. We all had we had a consolidated school for a bit, and then they made it a 1 to 12, or a K to 12 school, I believe is what it is now. They don't have the kids up there, right?
No.
Not enough people. I think my graduating class had 60 people in high school, maybe less than that. Everybody powerlifts or plays a bit of football or hockey and fishes or farms. That's kind of what it's like. My dad is a fisherman, so
That is the 10-second rundown.
yeah.
of Surrey.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. Is there
That's what
anything
you meant
else
by
that-
thick. Now I get it. Okay, I
Yeah.
understand.
But everyone, my dad is a fisherman, like I said. Most of my buddies' dads are fishermen. And we all, it's funny going through high school, we're all miserable. We're all fishing at the same time. And we have one night off a week. And, even in university as well, we'd have the Saturday night off, right? And we'd go drink together, and everyone would be like, so what'd you catch today? What was your markets? How many markets did you have? And that's all we could talk about. You can't escape it. Just you're doing it every day.
What age did you start fishing?
Man, oh God. See,
As
my
soon as
my
you're
dad's
born.
probably going to listen to this, and he's going to be like, no, he's lying.
We had to drag his ass in the
we
bed
dragged
3 summers in a row.
Yeah,
that's
I don't
good.
know, though. I used to always go on the boat a bit, and I actually, I would start to get seasick. I wasn't as bad when I was younger, though. And then as I got older, I don't know what it was, but I would start to get seasick some, but just have to power through it, which always made everything a little more interesting and miserable.
Definitely.
Power puke through it.
Yeah, it was just recover sometimes. And
It's quite a life fishing, honestly.
Oh, my
Setting
God.
day, landing day,
Yeah.
all these things in between, the early mornings, pogey, everything associated with it. It's
I honestly have the only experience with fishing I have is probably the Perfect Storm, which is a great movie, by the way.
oh yeah,
And
okay.
deep sea fishing, which is nothing.
I took you deep sea fishing.
You did. That was a lot of fun. I went actually this summer in late August for Ryan DeCoste,
Right.
bachelor party,
Yep.
former guest.
Yes.
And we went out deep sea fishing, and it was very, very windy, stormy.
Just crap.
And
Tons of
it
rain, too,
was
if I remember.
a lot of rain. So it kind of felt like we were out on the stormy seas. Little simulator there.
Well, we'll get
But-
you out. We'll get you out in the spring. Me and you will go over if we're down at Gahan House again. We'll take a little trip to go fishing.
Let's do
That'll
it.
be
Let's do it.
fun. You can come too, Ben.
I'm in. I'm there. I love it. What licenses did you folks have? What did you fish?
So Dad, obviously lobster. He did tuna for a while. Ended up selling that, which is the only thing I was a little cheesed about. Now I kind of wish I had a tuna license because I see some of my buddies going, they're getting the licenses and they're taking them people out and they're drinking and having a good time and fishing for some tuna. It's pretty good. The money in that is obviously nowadays is in the charter fishing and not so much as the getting tags and actually going out and getting the tunas. Yeah, I think mostly what they do now is sort of like chartering, taking groups of people out and
Right.
yeah,
Showing them the experience.
Yeah, exactly.
It is quite the experience. I mean, I would know nothing more than you need to tire that thing out by dragging it behind.
Yeah, well, yeah, you got it pretty much.
Like 10, 12
I'm
hours.
no expert myself.
You're fighting this, like 1,000 pounds?
Yes, some of them get up to be that big. I don't know if that's as common anymore, but yeah, definitely they're huge, massive. Yeah, crazy.
Quite a lot.
It's a
And this
beast.
is the fishing
Beast, yeah.
podcast here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Thanks for
quickly
tuning in.
Anything you want to
Yeah,
know about
love it.
fishing, we got it.
So other than fishing growing up, did you have any other interests? I mean, sports-wise, did you play any hockey? Because I know a lot of Islanders are big into that stuff.
Yeah, I played hockey all the way up to midget, and then I always found hockey really stressed me out for whatever reason. It was like I was always so stressed out by hockey, and then I got into football and fell in love with football. So football was like my sport after that, and I played that all through high school, and then 1 year or 2 years at Holland College, I played football. And other than that, like I do a bit of MMA and stuff now, just to kind of keep busy, go to the gym, but nothing really like competitive at the moment. But kind of
cool.
try to stay active. I mean, kind of been active my whole life. It's been super important part, and like with the powerlifting too, like I mentioned, that's a huge thing. In Surrey, they have, probably like 20 people that I went through with would have got medals at like the national championships.
Wow.
And a couple people in the world championships as well. So
Did you know that about Surrey, Ben?
yeah,
It's a PEI thing, I would suggest as well.
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
Surrey especially and up west. I mean,
up west really
down
big
east,
too.
up west, both ends
Yeah.
really.
On the farm. Yeah.
Sorry?
On the farm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, it's like that
basically.
natural strength, but then
Yeah.
they throw it into the gym, and then it's just like, holy, look out.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be like.
Like,
I don't know anymore. Like I haven't really been around as much, right? So I don't know how it's.
I haven't
doing.
been back in a decade, so.
Yeah.
Moving over here, what did you find some of the biggest differences were?
Just with
Culture.
like, well, that obviously, yeah, well,
Yeah.
and obviously, I mean, you're from PEI.
There is no
A lot
no
more.
culture.
There's none. There's none. You get to
What do you
see.
mean, Anna Green Gables?
Yeah, yeah,
Again,
exactly.
no culture.
No, there's definitely a lot more going on over here. Just people like were introduced to a lot of things a lot earlier over here too. I find,
Yeah.
that's another one of the big things for me. But yeah,
I found moving over, like I love the convenience of the city aspect. I mean, if I needed anything, I would always say that whenever I would come home. I'd be like, yeah, if I like needed to go to the grocery store, or if I wanted to go see a movie, or if I wanted, to dip into a pub for beer, it was all within 5 minutes. Whereas in Charlottetown, you need a car. Surrey, everywhere else, I mean, you need a car.
Well, yeah.
But I didn't have a car for my first 7 years, so I
Yeah.
was like, this is something I can get on board with.
that's what me and my brother were talking about the other day. It was like, do you remember like you would never walk anywhere in Charlottetown?
Never.
If you were walking, people would be like, "Who the hell is like? Why is he walking
I
right
can
now?"
remember.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, my
But-
mom would like break her neck watching as we drove by them. She'd be like, "Is that fella in trouble?" And I'd be
Yeah.
like, I'm pretty sure he's just
Just
walking.
walking.
Just
That's
going to
funny.
grab something. That's not right. I'd be like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Like,
Must be robbing someone.
which bank is he coming
Yeah,
from?
Where's this
exactly.
car?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's PEI. Honestly, in
In
comparison,
a
it's just
nutshell.
it's just a little sheltered.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
not in a
good way
bad
to
way,
put it.
but sheltered, so that when you do make it to the mainland, it's a bit of a culture shock for sure.
Just a bit,
Exactly.
yeah. Which is, it's interesting because, like you said, growing up in Halifax, for example, you're exposed to different cultures and different stories, really, and there's so many positives to that. So you don't necessarily do have that culture shock when you're coming from a smaller town.
Well, I think like what I was trying to get at is like the close-mindedness in PEI. Definitely a lot more of it, and definitely in the smaller towns.
Great point.
Yeah, and you would have seen it too, obviously, right? Even in Charlottetown, it's just like when somebody, and it's not as bad now. Now they have, and especially, I mean, I know we're gonna get into some sort of business talk, but like then now they have like the startup zone, and they're a lot more open-minded to stuff like that. But I know, like, just whenever I was kind of starting out, people were kind of looking at me, and like I would hear stories. My friends would always be like, "Yeah, this so and so said this, like about what you're doing. Like it's kind of stupid." Like, but it's just like
So close-minded. You hit it on the head.
Yeah, exactly. People just, and it's not that they're bad people. It's not that that they're not successful and stuff like that. It's just certain ideas don't resonate with them as well as some of the more like things they've been exposed to. And that's kind of like what we were saying. It's like,
Exactly, yeah. And there's just a certain way of life that's always been lived,
there,
and that it's just human nature to not want change, and you're comfortable with that, and that's it's to the point.
That's a great point. Comfortable.
And yeah, exactly. When you are exposed to that from a younger age, you don't see that happen as much. You're a bit more flexible and more open to different ideas because you're aware of those ideas to begin with.
Totally.
But it's obviously difficult when
You're
coming from a small town. How do you know about other things? It's
right.
a little bit easier now with the internet, and I think that's why you do see slowly but surely smaller
it's
towns
starting to kind of pick up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
So 1 to 12 or K to 12, whatever it may be in Surrey. What was your plan kind of coming on in that final year? Did you have much?
Well,
in terms of options?
Actually, yeah. The watch thing was in high school.
Okay, well, let's back up then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Jesus. I kind of jumped the biggest point there.
Well, no, that's okay. That was our fault. We
It wasn't as big, but I will say, like, definitely 17, probably. Well, even my friends, like if you ask Kenny, like any of my close friends now,
shout out Kenny, I know you're
Kenny,
listening.
boys, yeah.
Kenny.
But yeah, they'll mention, like, they remember me talking about it when I was in like grade 11, probably grade 10, grade 11, grade 12. Just didn't have the confidence, didn't have the right resources. I can make up a bunch of excuses, but I think the main thing for me is like a lot of like people didn't want me to, because spending money and sending it to China seemed, or wherever, like Switzerland was so like
foreign.
It was very foreign, and I was young, and they're like, "You're making a mistake. You're gonna lose
It's not
throwing away your money.
They're gonna steal all your money."
Yeah, exactly. I heard that. I remember even when I went first to the bank to get my first loan, I was saying I was going to go send it to China to get my watches made. They're like, "Oh, my niece, she had a bunch of money stolen from her in China and stuff." It was over shoes or something, and I was like, well, this is not the same thing.
Everyone has a horror story.
Yeah, but yeah, it was definitely more of a confidence issue, and I just didn't have the right connections yet. But those years were important, like just kind of for planning out what I was going to do.
How did the idea kind of come to be?
It was more of...
What was your plan?
Yeah, have you always kind of been an entrepreneur? Or?
Not overly, other than obviously like the grass cutting and stuff growing up. But it was more of I had the idea of like building a brand. It was never about watches. I loved watches. They're great. To this day, obviously they're a great thing. But for me, when I was starting out, was like building a brand, and I really wanted to just... I wanted to make something that could be recognized. I just didn't know how I was going to do it. And I knew, like, this was around the start of Instagram too, right? And we didn't have these platforms then that were, and you guys know obviously now how sales-oriented Instagram is now. If you don't have an Instagram or Facebook for your business, you're in the Stone Age, right?
It's not going to work.
Exactly.
There's a business page for Facebook and Instagram now, with analytics and everything. So
it's super complex, and it's like we didn't have that at the time. It was just kind of starting out. With the brand that I was trying to build, like that was the main goal, and it was something that I was passionate about. Obviously, it was watches, and I said, well, why don't I kind of start out and see what I can do. See if I can kind of make some brand recognition. And that was always, and even to this day, that's the coolest thing for me is people recognizing my brand. I mean, I love giving them a quality product, but it's more people looking at being able to see my logo, seeing what it represents. That'll be for the rest of my life. If I continue with entrepreneurship, that'll be the main thing for me, is creating something that has meaning behind it. It sounds so cliche. It's like I was going over this in my head before I came, but no, that
I'm
is
actually
true.
loving this. So
It's
keep going.
It is true. Like that was always the inspiration starting out in high school. And I know you asked me in high school what my plans were. So I was gonna play football. That was the big thing for me. And I was gonna go to Cégep Rimouski in Quebec. And we get up there for spring training camp, and we did it. Whatever. We're all pumped. Me and my buddy that we're up there and gonna be spending next year in their French immersion program. Problem was we're the only 2 people in it. And so they canceled the program on us and sent us back to PEI. That's kind of where UPI comes in.
Okay.
And I'm like, business majors are a dime a dozen, right? There's none of us out there. No, but it was it was definitely like I was interested in business, so. And I had gotten into UPI, and I was like, I guess I better go here.
Yeah, well, why not, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So at UPI, the 3 years there, I spent time building Instagram for what was to be my watches, which was 60. And at the time, my page was called 60 Status. Similar, like it was the same logo that I have on the face of the watches. It just said Status underneath the 0. And my whole like and to this day the theme behind the logo is like the 60 stand for 1,000,000. So they're my 3 goals in business that I like set out for myself. I wanted to do 1,000,000 sales, have 1,000,000 followers on a social media platform, and 1,000,000 customers. So I said if I achieve those 3 things in business in my life, like I'll be pretty happy with my brand. And that's how the name kind of came about. And I started building it on Instagram as like a motivation page, like a cheesy little like throwing out quotes and stuff. And we did have some pretty good success with it. Like kind of doing shout outs with different sort of motivation pages, but we had nothing, no actual like substance to anything. But we were able to build like a bit of a following before I decided it was time to kind of get it going and actually get, and I know I had the watch idea in high school and it was something I always wanted to do, so it's kind of how we started that.
So throughout university, you were operating it as kind of like a brand 60, but then the watches came into play.
Exactly. So it really did start out as a brand that's
right.
And that
kind of
was,
leaving it open, right? So
exactly.
Then you can pick
I didn't know where I was
product.
going.
Right.
I knew watches were an option, clothing, real estate, and to this day, my goal is to kind of be more of like a group of businesses. Like one of my biggest inspirations all throughout my life was Richard Branson. I always would read his books. He's crazy son of a bitch.
Yeah.
He's dipped into everything from airlines.
He really has.
to entertainment. Like he's in everything. And I always thought that was so cool how a guy could. Everyone would be like, you had a magazine first, and then you went from that to records, like, and then you sold that to go to an airline. Like you're an idiot. And then he ended up obviously super successful, right? And so I thought that was super cool. So I was like, why don't I build a brand and kind of try to dip into a bunch of different things?
Smart.
That's what I'm attempting to do now with a few different things. Obviously, the watches
Which
and
are
accessories.
amazing, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I guess we can talk about
We can
those
talk
for a
about
second.
those. Yeah.
Yep.
Special thank you. The watches.
No worries,
Very
boys.
thankful.
These are sick.
I think
Sure.
it's very original, in my view anyway, to start with a brand first. Kind of, most people I would assume build the brand around the product.
Yeah.
Or am I wrong here?
No,
Wow.
I think you're right. I mean, typically it's unique. You came up. I mean, obviously you mentioned you had the idea for the watches in high school,
Yeah.
but you just built a brand where your idea were your goals
Yeah.
for whatever that may be.
Yeah.
And then you added the motivational aspect into that as well on Instagram to
Kind of
further
start
that
to build.
following
Yeah.
as well. So
Kinda
I think
test
that's a
the
very
following
unique
market,
path.
yeah.
That's really cool.
So kind of take us from there. You're in your third year, if I'm following along correctly.
Yeah, you kind of just had
Oh, yeah.
realized that maybe we can introduce the watches to the brand.
Yep. Yep. So nothing happened more like watch wise while I was in PEI. Right before I was about to leave to come to Halifax, I had placed like my first order for the ones you're wearing right now, booty. I think. Yeah, you got an East Coast
Very
one
nice.
on.
We got the light brown strap. and
Those
the-
were like the
black
first
face.
ones that I kind of did. Didn't really know what I was doing. I mean, and they're nice watches,
Oh,
but
great.
there's a lot more things that I'm even learning now. I mean, we're only on our fifth model. We have 3 unreleased at the moment. Or sorry, six, 3 unreleased.
He's got so much business, folks. He can't. He can't even keep it straight.
Right. But yeah, no, I didn't really know what I was doing with those. To be fair, they turned out fine, obviously, but I kind of had the naive approach that if I make watches, they're gonna sell. Like, you know, they're sick. Like everyone's gonna want them. Oh my God, was I ever wrong, right? Jeez, I think that happens to a lot of people. You get
I was just thinking,
humbled
yeah.
pretty quick.
Yeah.
You realize right away, like, I started selling last January when I was in Halifax, my first year in Halifax. You start to realize how much it takes to get the money out of someone's pocket and to do the exchange for a product. Everyone will always say, oh man, nice watch. I want one of them. Like, I'll be getting one. No, probably not. 9 times out of 10, probably not. And that was a big thing for me. And it kind of led me to believe like this, especially this business is like 90% marketing and 10% distribution. And I just started pumping money into marketing, you know, doing everything I could, doing new videos. I know, like, you had Austin Erms on. How was that, by the way? He's
Really
awesome.
great, yeah.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy, really talented.
Shout out to Austin
Shout
again,
out Austin.
actually, because he was on, or he filmed one of my good buds' family companies, Mother Hubbard's. I don't know if you've seen that video.
I feel like
I
I,
think
I
I
saw it. I
Shout
think.
out to Mother Hubbard's as well, but Austin did the videography for that, and it turned out amazing.
Yeah, he's insane.
That's awesome.
He
Yeah.
is insane.
Yeah, and Colton Handerhan, another
Yep.
PEI guy. He did my first video. That was funny. Me and Kenny in it.
Yes.
Kind of funny looking if you know us. It was interesting seeing us in the suits, but it was cool. He
Two big goofs.
yeah, big goofs if you know us for sure. I don't know what other people thought, but definitely when I was like, ooh, geez. But yeah, no, he did a great job of that, and it was cool. It was funny. He
And
did it.
Sorry to interrupt. I was just wondering how you leveraged the Instagram account, which at that point, how many followers did you have when you introduced the watches?
Somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000. Since then, I've only gained about 1,000 followers.
Okay.
I haven't had any real growth with my Instagram, which I was also very surprised with, and very humble, because I thought, like, you always think it's going to be easier than it is, but then you learn. Then now I know what to expect, right? I know if I'm going to do a launch of a product, I know I'm going to expect this much sales right away until I market it or do a video or the Guardian picks it up, and then I know it's going to spike a bit, go back down, and followers wise it'll do the same. Kind of follows my sales pattern, I find.
You understand the trends a bit
interesting.
more now.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And I had no idea before, and it was disappointing, obviously, for me.
I think on that note, though, not to interject,
It's
but I
all
think
good.
it's a good time where it seems like you've learned your lessons from the kind of the letdown of it.
Yeah.
Not to say it was a letdown. Maybe misled expectations.
It was, yeah. It was naivety. Like, I was very naive, right? I thought everything was going to come a lot easier than it was.
But then it kind of realigns you. It gets you to march back to the drawing board if you're still interested, and you're like, shit, how did I fall so hard? But
Yeah.
how do I ensure that doesn't happen again?
Yeah.
If you flop once, do you sink or swim kind of thing? Not to pick on fishing, but
Yeah, gee, we're back.
Jeez, I'm
And
everywhere
fishing,
with
we're
these,
back.
but
All back.
but in all honesty, I mean, if
Yeah.
it flops the first time, are you gonna put in the work to come back and do it for us again, or are you done? Is that it?
Yeah.
And you've obviously persevered.
There's a good quote that I love. It's by Pearl Buck, and I don't want to mess it up. Maybe I should look it up. It's something along the lines of like the young are naive, and therefore generation after generation they continue to achieve the impossible. And it kind of plays on the fact that like we're almost so naive and like we just go for it, and then we end up achieving it after a while. But I've never been afraid to be let down, just because I know it's good. It's humbling. You need it. You definitely need it, and you can't let that be like, I didn't sell all 200 watches in the first month like I wanted to, or whatever your goal was. You gotta actually like take a step back, analyze. Okay, where did I go wrong here? What could I have expected less of? And for me, like I was saying, it was the effects of the marketing. Obviously, were nowhere near as good as I thought they were going to be. And just how hard it was to actually get a sale. Like your first 10 sales are literally the hardest thing in your business. Like it's insane to get them. I couldn't believe it. But now obviously it's doing a little better. So happy for that, and going to keep going.
I think that's really good insight for those that are listening. I mean, if you're going through a similar stretch, perhaps, where maybe you're hearing no, or you're falling flat, or whatever the case may be, if you want it, you gotta learn from that and go back to the drawing board and figure it out from there. And you know, as you mentioned, it'll be a very humbling experience on the other end of that.
It will be, but that'll help you a million times over.
Oh, infinitely.
If you, yeah.
Absolutely. Because a lot of people get to that point where their expectations aren't met, or they're let down, or they're just not as successful as they thought they were going to be, and they just crumble, or they give up. And so it really comes to that point where what kind of person are you going to be? Because anyone can be that person who says, no, this isn't that point where I'm going to quit. I'm going to keep going because I know I can do it.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to sit here and be that motivational guy. Like, you can do it. You can get your...
You got to live by your Facebook or your Instagram page.
yeah, right? Like, I'm not trying to be that guy anymore. We're done with it.
This is a stepping stone.
Yeah. No, but that's seriously what it's like for me. And that's what it's like, I'm sure, for a lot of people when they're starting out. I'm nowhere near what I want to be or where I want to be. But I think these experiences that we've been talking about that kind of humble you a bit are just going to prepare you for your next ventures or wherever you want to go next with your brand, and take it for sure.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned the first 10 being the most challenging. What were those challenges that you faced?
I think a lot of self-doubt right away. I was like, geez, like these are not as nice as I thought they were. And right away that kind of led me to believe, like, and to be honest, I haven't said it before, I was embarrassed to wear my own watch. I was like, damn, like these suck. Like, and I was like, they're not selling, like people are talking crap. And they were talking crap. Like there was definitely people who I knew and I'd have my like closer friends be like, man, he was talking crap about your watches there, saying you're dumb, like, for doing this, and they suck and stuff. I'm like, shit, like, but yeah, it was like, so I had a lot of self-doubt. I was like, man, like maybe I didn't know anything about this, and this was a mistake, and these will never sell. But nowadays I see people wearing them, and I've gotten them on some like pretty cool people, like some pretty famous people, and I see people like have people coming up to me like, nice watch, man, like these are so sick. Like I'm like, it's cool how it can change around for you like that. And now I'm like super
Mark and
proud.
I both are wearing ours. We threw them on immediately. So.
Right, here we go.
So it's cool, yeah, like to see it kind of switch, and
right.
It kind of leads me to believe like when you're building a brand, you almost have to make it cool. And I mean, like, shout out to my guy Alex McLean with East Coast Lifestyle. Like they have such a cool brand image. Like he did a really good job of making it cool. I mean, everyone kind of knows his story starting out at Acadia. And it was a similar sort of thing. Like he had a limited number. I'm sure he had like 100 hoodies or something, and he just like he kind of had to find a way to make people think his brand was cool and kind of build it like. And also like when I was starting out, I was like, man, does my logo suck? Like, what is it? Like, I don't know. Like, it was all these questions. It really was. It's like my logo might suck. Maybe the watches suck. I don't know. Maybe I suck. Maybe people just don't like me, right?
So a lot of self doubt was creeping
man,
in.
oh yeah, definitely. I don't talk about it a lot because I don't want people to be like, damn, like I don't talk about it because I don't want people to go back to that. I was like, I can never mention that because they're gonna think like, oh, it sucks again. Never mind.
No, it's a great inside look.
It's good to know, where you came from, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are in a position similar to you back then, and it's nice to hear this.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
We do appreciate it. You opening up. Don't worry, just by talking about it, you won't go back to feeling that.
Yeah, hopefully not.
The best shows are always hidden behind the curtains. So
yeah,
it's nice to get a look behind.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Your metaphor curtain.
You did your 3 years at UP.
Yeah, sorry, I went off on a tangent.
Oh no, that's exactly what we want though. That was great. What did you come to Halifax right after that?
Yeah.
How did that transition take place?
I just didn't want to be in Charlottetown anymore. I don't know if you can relate to that, Ben, but it was more of just I didn't want to be, and nothing against PEI. I love PEI. Just wanted to see something else. And I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere in PEI. I felt like even though I could have graduated like a year earlier at least, that it was time for me to move on. Mm-hmm. I needed to get out of there, and I think for a lot of people who are kind of held up in a place where they think it's like they're not improving themselves, their circle's not great, their friend circle, I would encourage them as well to kind of move on and
get out of that comfort zone.
Exactly. And I was mentioning to you earlier, I've been here now for a couple of years and I want to make a move again and just switch it up. I don't know where I'll go next year, but I'm pretty sure I'll probably head somewhere else and move my company, do it somewhere else and see new things, meet new people. I think that's super important especially when you're trying to build something.
And it's a remote business to begin with. I mean, you can kind of plunk anywhere in North America and still be able to do what you're doing. But that's interesting that you felt a similar way while in PEI. I mean, I feel like a lot of people hit their heads on the ceiling at different times, but inevitably we all end up doing it.
Yeah.
For those same reasons, your friend group isn't really taking you anywhere. It's kind of stale. You see the same things. There's not much to offer in terms of culture. It's dark in the winter. I'm not shitting on PEI, but
the winters are tough.
That's the reality.
I know
right?
what you mean. Yeah, for sure.
So it's nice that you were able to seek a new type of comfort by moving away.
Yeah,
right. It removes you from one comfort zone, but it allows you to feel pretty comfortable while moving over here.
Definitely. You got to change it up for sure, and you got to meet new people. That's another huge thing, I think. And to be honest, I haven't done that enough here. I haven't I don't know if it's just in school. Like I do a lot of group work and stuff, but I never really keep up with anything or anyone. So that would definitely be something I'd improve, is kind of like keeping up with different people.
I've been there.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, I was just gonna tag on that point. I've been there. I felt the exact same way. I mean, maybe not the exact same, but I felt very similar. Where I need to get out of this comfort zone. How can I do it? Yeah. Well, maybe moving away from everyone.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Good start.
Yeah, and so much can come from getting outside that comfort zone. You learn so much more about you. There's stuff that you could have interest in that you had no idea. I mean, it's kind of a callback to growing up in a small town. You really have no idea what's out there until you're exposed to it. So you've got to put yourself out there in the first place.
Totally.
The best things are on the end of the outside layer of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's scary, but it's worth it.
Definitely. I would say that it's like you will not care as much about what people think when you move away as well. That was a big thing for me. It's like when you live in a small place, everyone, you'll care so much more. And you were mentioning about even wearing pants that are different than some people. You were worried, and I bet now you're like, I don't give a shit.
I can remember.
You know what I mean?
It crippled me growing up.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I just want to express myself how I fucking want.
Yeah.
This is who I am.
Yeah.
Can someone please just accept me for who I am, kind of thing? But it would always be like, well, you have to fit into the cookie cutter mold, or otherwise it's going to be pretty painful.
I'm sure when
for
you moved here, it kind of changed for you. Like,
I was whoever I wanted.
Less. Yeah,
right?
because you don't know the people as well, and you literally just stop caring about. You see the bigger picture a little bit more. Right. So
that's a great point. The bigger picture becomes that much more clear, and those little things like pant leggings, pant legs, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
which is great. Again, not to knock on PEI.
Yeah, geez.
Nobody listening is ever going to go there. It's beautiful, by the way.
It is beautiful.
So I'm curious, what do you do when it gets super dark? How do you get yourself out of there?
Book a new thing. Do something new, honestly. Okay. I'll start planning my next marketing campaign. Like, I know there's a few different things I can't really get into. I can't let too many details out, but I mean, like, obviously we're doing a new collab with East Coast Lifestyle.
Yeah, why don't we talk about, you've already done one collaboration. How'd that come to be?
Yeah. So it's funny, in the Guardian, like in PI, I did an article, and they said...
Guardian's the local newspaper
for those. The newspaper.
Yeah, okay.
They said me and Alex met at an event, but in reality, I guess it kind of was an event. But it was at the Toothy Moose, which is pretty funny.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Shout out Toothy Moose.
Yeah, shout out Toothy. Yeah. But I just went up to him. I was like, man, geez, I know he's probably like, who's this drunk idiot coming up to me? But it ended up working out well. But I was just like, yeah, man, like, I love your brand. I'm building my own with watches. I showed him my Instagram. He was like, yeah, hit me up. And it's funny that you say that, because I'm actually looking to do a lot more accessories right now. It was almost like the stars just aligned perfectly for that to happen. So we started chatting the next day, kind of met up, and just got a plan going. Like, I think people will appreciate more if they find out how much time we actually put into our models, the new ones especially, obviously. It's at least 2 months nailing down a design that we like. Obviously, I could kick something out with a stock model. And for example, those are kind of like a stock model, not exactly, but just something you go on Alibaba, you could pick out like this stock model and throw your logo on it, get them to make 100, send the payment. But I don't find that's really special. It doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, it doesn't really resonate. Exactly.
So with me, what I do is I spend, I don't know, a couple weeks thinking, like, what are we going to make this collection about? And we think about the colors, we think about the meaning of it, and we think about how we could make that all fit into a watch. And what we'll do is we'll start throwing around designs for at least a couple weeks until we kind of nail something down. And then it's just back and forth with the manufacturer, just getting like appropriate or good mock-ups made up, and we get to approve that. So like for the East Coast Lifestyle one, we're gonna do our first box. We're gonna do with all the maritime flags and call it the Maritimer model. And so the first box that we had printed out was with like every like PI flag, Newfoundland flag. And
That's
so we did that. Yeah, it looked super cool, and we still might end up doing it soon. But I showed Alex, and we kind of thought maybe we'll do something different instead, and just kind of thought like simplicity, black and gold, you know, everyone likes that, and we thought we could make something pretty dope with that. And I work with 2 different manufacturers, so I have to get mock-ups done for boxes and for watches. So it takes like at least, you know, a month or 2 to get them made up and to get them approved. So and that's just the designs, and then they're in production for a long time too. So we put a lot of work into them.
They're super impressive.
Thank you.
I'm just noticing the blue.
Yeah, there's a lot of intricate details in that one, actually.
The new ones we have coming, there's a lot more stuff that I was able to do that I didn't realize, and that's why I was saying, like, I learn a lot more about this business when I do a new model. Like, we can do engraving now on the buckle of the watch. I didn't realize that. Our boxes now are embroidered, so our logos are going to be embroidered on the boxes, and that's going to be super sick too. So
you're learning everything kind of on the fly.
as you go.
And
yeah,
that's a lot of fun too, right?
It is. It's super fun. Yeah, for sure.
Telling you, that seems the way to do it. Just
it is.
Jump in and learn as you go.
Yep. Yep. For sure.
Well, if you look at most successful entrepreneurs, and I mean, I don't know if this is factual or not, but I would almost I definitely wager that many of them, most of them, didn't have a full plan heading in. They're just like, I got something, I'm going for it.
No, and they definitely didn't hit their mark the first go at it. Probably not the first.
A lot of them go bankrupt. Honestly, and I couldn't tell you the statistic on it, but a lot of people. I do a lot of reading on entrepreneurs just to try to find inspiration. Obviously, like I was saying, Richard Branson. I know for a fact that with his record business, he got into some trouble with tax evasion. Whether he meant to or not, I'm not really sure what happened. But his family had to put like their house up and stuff to kind of bail him out, and and that was a big thing for me. Like, shout out to my parents, mom, dad, but they've always encouraged me to kind of do my own thing, kind of think outside the box, and they've never been like the close-minded type that you would see in a small town like where I grew up. But they were always encouraging me to kind of branch out, try to do something bigger. And they never really, like, even though I was like at a young age kind of starting to think about taking out some big bank loans and stuff, even when I had student loan debt, they encouraged me. Like, they said, you have to be responsible for it, but we think you can do it. So I think that's really is a great way of parenting a child. I know I'll do the same if I ever have kids someday, for sure.
Yeah, just kind of pass down some of those lessons, and obviously
you have to learn.
Keep an open mind for your kid. Mm-hmm. I mean, if they're showing interest in entrepreneurship, well, hey, you better buckle up to them asking you about a few loan discussions.
I've had lots of help.
Yeah.
If I don't mention that, my dad will be like, you bastard. No, they've helped me out a lot. It's actually my first loan for them. Those watches was from my grandmother. She gave me a loan for that. And I don't believe I paid all of it back. Yeah.
Should have
no, but the money I got for the next ones, I was able to pay it all back, and pay the bank back, which was good. Got to keep doing that, right? Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's
so
awesome.
We know where you've been, kind of.
Yeah.
Would you say you have a good idea, Mark?
I would say so.
Okay,
yeah.
so what does the future have in store for you?
Well, I'll bring it back to kind of like how I was saying, building a brand. I've been trying to dip into a few different things. Most recently, entertainment. I've been looking at like doing some concerts and stuff with like 60 Entertainment, 60 Real Estate. Just kind of starting to expand my group of businesses. And I think that's what you're going to see me doing. And with 60 watches specifically, you're going to see in the next year or so a lot more collaborations, as I think they're definitely a good way of piggybacking your brand on somebody else's brand if you have something to offer them. You can't like expect the other brand to do everything for you. You have to have something to offer them. Like in this instance, I had the manufacturers. I was able to make the watches, and then East Coast Lifestyle, they have a great brand. They were able to give that exposure, right? And I think that's a super good way. And I know you're mentioning some other watch brands before. I think before we were recording.
Right. Yeah. Just as maybe even competition, but.
Yeah. So you see a lot of the competitors now. They're doing a lot of collaborations with obviously influencers. That's a huge movement.
Right.
Like probably the best. They actually sold to Movada Group for close to $300 million, I believe.
Is that all?
Yeah, terrible, eh?
Yeah.
And I think Buddy.
That's more than 6 euros.
Yeah, that's good.
Carry the 2.
Yeah,
the 3. Yeah. No.
I think the guy who founded it actually is still the head. They left him in control because he's doing a great job.
2 or 3 guys in the university that wanted to do similar things,
and I think
right?
Tay-Rock was similar. And I'm trying to I know watches are kind of like you think they're all the same, but that's why you have to build like a different image than what they're doing, and that's what I'm trying to do is kind of like get away from that. We've been throwing around an idea of a Narcos shoot, so it's like obviously Narcos the show, on Netflix.
Familiar
if you haven't seen it. Great show. But doing something like that with the new models. And I have a buddy who is going to Panama and we might do something like that down there. So
That'd be pretty cool.
yeah, just throwing around different ideas. Different collaborations are going to be huge in the next few years for us.
And the watches are doing well. I mean, 6-0 is thriving.
Well,
right?
yeah, right now, like once the collab with East Coast happened, it was good because any of the inventory that was slowing and stale from my last order was gone right away, and people were asking, like, if they could get more, because ideally next year, I mean, I'm a one-man show at the moment. It'd be awesome. Like, I know St. Mary's has a program that they approached me about where you can hire a student to work with you. And it's pretty good. They pay half their wage. I think it's up to $19 you have to pay them an hour, and it's for, I'm not sure, I don't want to get into too many details because I'll get it wrong, but a certain amount of months, and that'd be awesome for me if I could get a helping hand. I know, just for shipping inventory and just looking at different like website redesign. Like, I'm gonna probably do a relaunch here at some point because I kind of did it all myself, and again, like, just learning like Shopify and stuff. You kind of take it as you go, make tweaks all the time. But yeah, next year I'd love to do this wherever I'm at, and hopefully branch out into other things, other different types of businesses.
It sounds like you've taken a lot of the correct or necessary steps involved.
Hopefully.
Have you maybe even thought about starting it here and using some of the aids that we have around the city? I mean, come to mind Volta or any sort of labs.
Yeah, I've been
community.
applying for a lot of those. There was one most recently. I think it might have been Volta, actually. They're giving away like $25,000 to 4 different groups. We did up a huge plan. My brother helped me with that. He has his MBA, so he's pretty good business wise, and he helped me with it. We didn't end up getting it, but it's always worth applying for stuff like that.
I like the idea that you're not just settled on one thing with the watches. You want to branch into maybe real estate, and then you've got the entertainment side of it. So it's great. You're shooting your arrow at many different targets.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Well, I was just gonna say, and people might think that's kind of foolish, and that you can't dip your toe in a bunch of different industries. But I would think the opposite. I would almost think of it as like you're diversifying your stock portfolio, and you're gonna minimize your risk if you have your toe in a bunch of different industries, right? And that's kind of what I'm aiming for, is just kind of feel it out. And I think, I don't know who it was, I heard maybe Ty Lopez, that internet guy. And but he made a good reference one time. I saw in a video that he was saying, like, have a bunch of little lab test tubes, and those are your businesses, and you're incubating them, and you're seeing what ones work, throwing out the rest of them.
Yeah.
You want to do that, though, before obviously you're getting too deep in with loans and stuff.
Exactly.
But there's a certain point where you're going to have to take it, and you might actually have to go out and get a loan, see what you can do with it. And I mean, most businesses you'll be able to make your money back if you are smart enough and do your market research before you actually kind of dive into it.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, I may not be one to do something similar, but I'm all for your rationale as to why you're doing it.
Thank you.
I think it's great, and I mean, this might be a nice little send off in the sense that I feel like you've got very positive energy. I mean, obviously I've gone through a few things, but have always bounced back. So I'm curious, who's your biggest critic? Is it you?
Before we were doing this, I probably would have said someone else, but now I'm like, maybe it is me, because I was going on about all my self-doubt and stuff, and I never really talk about it. It's kind of all, you build it up, and, like I was saying, peaks and valleys. You kind of keep that internal, though, because you don't want other people to see that, because I've always perceived that as, they might perceive my brand as being weak if they see me, kind of having self-doubt about it. So I would say, yeah, probably me, my biggest critic.
I'd say you. This is just my opinion, but you were very aware of your self-doubt, but you never let it overtake you. So
Try
it,
not.
it couldn't have been that strong.
Yeah,
If you doubted yourself that much, I mean, you wouldn't be here today talking about
for sure.
a company
yeah.
that you
Oh,
have
I guess you're right.
6
Or
lines
his
with.
will to overcome is just that much stronger.
Yeah, either one. I mean,
Yeah.
both ways of looking at it are great. I don't want you to maybe focus on that as such a negative. I think it's incredible. Any one of our guests that we have on, when they're able to share their stories of success, I mean, I'm just blown away each time. So I feel the very same for you.
Mm-hmm.
You should be quite proud.
Thank you.
It's a
Thanks,
really cool
guys.
accomplishment.
Absolutely. Before we get out of here, I'd like to just get into a little day in the life of Sean Fitzpatrick.
Okay. So do you want Sean?
I see what you wrote down for us.
Or?
You wake up at some early time.
Well, he's a fisherman. So
Yeah. In the morning, I kind of like to get a workout in. I think it's a good way to start the day. Kind of get your thoughts going. Kind of get yourself off on the right foot. And I find if I don't do that, then and I hate working out in the morning. Ever since powerlifting, like I've always had my better workouts strength wise in the afternoon, but I definitely have it. I definitely find it more beneficial in the morning to do that. And then just like when I'm working on my business throughout the day, balancing it with school, I'll try to allocate like the odd I shouldn't even say this, but in class I often am working on my business, doing something on my website, just because I get distracted. Like I have a bunch of tabs open and I'll see like my Shopify platform and I'm like, oh, I better check this, and then I get off. But yeah, I try to allocate a couple hours at least each day to kind of build and sometimes I'm not posting anything, sometimes I'm not shipping anything, sometimes I'm not doing anything really of substance, but I'm always trying to forward my business by doing some research. Maybe it's on competitors, maybe it's on what I'm going to do next.
I guess we didn't even realize you're still in school right now.
Yeah.
Okay, where are you at St. Mary's?
St. Mary's, finish up in the spring. We'll be thankful to be done.
What are you in marketing?
No, I have, because I transferred, I'm doing like just a general BCom.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we'll end her there.
All right.
That was a great epi. Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, thanks for having me
was a
on,
great
boys. I
episode.
appreciate that. We'll have to do another one here in the future.
Oh, definitely. We'll have you on in the summer when
Yeah.
we get the studio on the go.
We'll get to experiment a little bit more in the summertime.
Definitely.
Well, thank you,
And
guys.
we finally made it work with the schedule,
Yeah,
which is very
finally.
nice.
Yeah.
Tried a few times and
I'm
finally
sure.
made it work.
This man is
Did it.
busy. He's selling watches.
He's a busy
Yeah, it's
guy.
hard
Yeah.
to get him out.
All right. Thanks, guys, for a brand new view. I'm Mark Boudreau.
And I am Ben Brammer.
See you next week.
Cheers.
I was the same old